Nathaniel Grant, the millionaire CEO of a luxurious hotel chain, was restless that night. He had just flown in unexpectedly to inspect one of his most profitable hotels without alerting the staff. Irritated by some minor flaws he noticed, he decided to inspect every corner himself, including the back areas no executive would typically bother checking. As he opened the restroom door in the staff section, something unexpected stopped him in his tracks. Inside the janitor's restroom, a young woman was curled up on the toilet seat, fast asleep in her uniform, a mop still leaning on the wall. Her face was peaceful despite the awkward position, and her soft breathing filled the silence. Nathaniel stood frozen, watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. He had never seen anyone look so innocent, so genuinely exhausted. There was something about her vulnerability that tugged at something deep within him. For a man who had everything, he felt an odd ache for this woman who probably had nothing. He didn't wake her. He just watched for a while, then slowly backed out of the room. He found out her name the next morning, Elsie, 24, a night cleaner with a spotless work record and no family to speak of. Something inside him shifted. For reasons he couldn't explain, he ordered the staff not to mention the surprise inspection. He didn't want her to get in trouble. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Why did one sleeping woman affect him more than all the glamorous women he'd met in his privileged world? Elsie was embarrassed when she woke up and realized she had fallen asleep again on duty. It wasn't the first time, but she had always managed to hide it. She barely slept at home, working 2 jobs to survive. She dragged herself through the day shift, avoiding eye contact, unaware that someone had seen her. Later, during her break, she found a mysterious coffee cup on her locker with a note, "Get some real sleep tonight. The floors can wait." No name. No hint. Just care. Nathaniel, watching from afar through the security feeds, found himself smiling at her confusion. He was already late for a board meeting but didn't care. His attention was drawn to her, her tired eyes, her hunched shoulders, and how she still managed to smile politely at others. He wanted to talk to her. But how could he explain who he was without startling her? So instead, he started finding little ways to ease her burden. Cleaners reported that certain late-night floors were suddenly off-limits for cleaning due to maintenance. Elsie noticed the changes but had no idea who was behind them. She simply felt thankful, and a bit suspicious. One night, when she stayed late to finish a room she had been told to skip, she found an expensive blanket neatly folded with her name on it in the staff lounge. The others teased her, someone clearly had a crush. But she laughed it off. Still, the mystery of who was secretly watching out for her began to haunt her quietly. Nathaniel couldn't take it anymore. He needed to speak to her. Disguising himself in a staff hoodie and jeans, he timed his visit to when she would be mopping the west corridor. As he approached, Elsie startled and stepped back, the mop slipping from her fingers. "Whoa, sorry," he laughed gently, reaching down to pick it up. "Didn't mean to scare you." She narrowed her eyes. "You're not from cleaning," she said with quiet firmness. "You don't smell like bleach." He chuckled, charmed by how observant she was. "You caught me," he admitted. "I'm new around here, thought I'd help out." She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. They talked as she cleaned, and he watched her work with quiet fascination. She had no idea he was the man who owned the building she was scrubbing. By the time their conversation ended, Elsie found herself oddly drawn to the kind stranger with warm eyes. He didn't treat her like help. He listened. She smiled more that night than she had in weeks. Nathaniel walked away with her laughter echoing in his mind. The line between curiosity and affection had fully disappeared. He was falling, and fast. Days passed, and Nathaniel kept showing up in disguise. Each time, he invented a new excuse. He said he was interning with maintenance, then claimed he was helping in hospitality. Elsie began to suspect something was off, but she enjoyed his company too much to question it. He always asked about her day, never made her feel small, and made her laugh with his clumsy first-time attempts at mopping. Their friendship deepened quickly. She told him about her dreams of being an interior designer, how she studied at night from free online courses and how she couldn't afford college. Nathaniel listened carefully, storing every detail. He began anonymously sending her textbooks through hotel mail with notes like, "You've got talent. Don't stop." She was stunned and moved, thinking it was just a kind stranger. One evening, she invited him to sit with her during her short dinner break. They shared food from her lunchbox, plain rice and beans, but he acted like it was the best meal he'd ever had. "It's not much," she apologized. "It's everything," he replied, meaning every word. In that simple exchange, he felt more alive than during all his luxury dinners combined. Rumors started spreading among the staff. "Elsie's got a secret admirer," one of the laundry girls giggled. "Bet he's cute too, she keeps smiling at her locker like a lovesick teenager." Elsie brushed them off, but her heart wasn't as steady. She was growing attached to the stranger with warm eyes and kind words. She didn't even know his real name. Meanwhile, Nathaniel's assistant, Claudia, noticed his strange absences and mild obsession with the cleaning staff logs. "Sir, you've rescheduled 3 investor calls and postponed your flight twice. Are we involved in some kind of scandal?" she asked. He ignored her sarcasm and simply said, "I found someone worth watching." Claudia raised an eyebrow but kept quiet. She'd seen him go through flings before, but this was different. Things took a turn one night when Nathaniel slipped and almost called her by his real name. "You talk like someone educated," she told him. "You sure you're just a maintenance guy?" He panicked for a second, then smiled. "Everyone's more than their title, right?" She laughed, but doubt had now crept into her mind. Who was he? Elsie started asking questions. She watched how the staff treated the new helper. No one questioned his presence, and he had access to areas others didn't. One night, she discreetly followed him after their shift. To her shock, she saw him enter the executive elevator, one only high-level staff had access to. Her heart thumped. Was he a spy? Or worse, management? Nathaniel was waiting at the top floor in his penthouse suite when a soft knock came. He opened the door to find Elsie standing there, eyes wide and angry. "You lied to me," she whispered. "Who are you really?" He stared at her in silence, then slowly removed his hoodie. "My name is Nathaniel Grant. I own this hotel." Her legs nearly buckled. You're the CEO." He stepped closer, his voice calm but sincere. "I didn't plan this. I saw you asleep that night and I couldn't stop thinking about you. Not out of pity, but because something about you made everything make sense." She shook her head in disbelief. "You tricked me. I had to know you without the weight of my name," he explained. "And I fell for you, Elsie." Elsie didn't show up to work for 2 days. Nathaniel waited, pacing, canceling meetings he no longer cared about. When she finally returned, she avoided him, keeping her head down. He tried to talk, but she turned away. In her heart, she was torn. She liked the man she knew, but could she ever trust the CEO behind the mask? That night, he found her alone in the laundry room. "I deserve your anger," he said. "But please believe me, I never lied about my feelings." She didn't respond at first, folding towels mechanically. "You had the power to ruin me," she said. "You could have fired me." He stepped closer. "I could never hurt you." The silence stretched between them before she finally whispered. "I'm scared of how much I care." His breath hitched. "Then we're both terrified," he said, taking her hand slowly. "Let's be scared together." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she didn't see the CEO. She saw the man who stayed up at night just to talk to her. They started seeing each other secretly. Late-night chats turned into gentle touches, stolen kisses, and laughter in hidden hallways. Nathaniel treated her like royalty, but always in private. "I don't want to ruin your peace," he said. "Once people find out, they'll talk." Elsie nodded, knowing all too well how cruel people could be. But secrets have a way of slipping. One night, a curious bellboy caught them kissing in the back stairwell. The next day, the hotel buzzed with whispers. Elsie became the target of side eyes and rumors. "She's sleeping her way to the top," some sneered. Others just watched, waiting for the drama to explode. Nathaniel noticed her shrinking. "Tell me what to do," he begged. "I'll make it stop." But she shook her head. "You can't fire their mouths." That night, he did something unthinkable. During the weekly staff meeting, he walked in, took her hand in front of everyone, and kissed her forehead. "This woman means more to me than any contract," he declared. Silence fell. The room froze. Elsie's eyes filled with tears. The backlash came fast. Executives sent emails. Shareholders whispered threats. But Nathaniel didn't care. He doubled her pay, gave her flexible hours, and stood by her side. "I don't care what they think," he said. "I'm not letting you go." But Elsie started to feel like she was drowning in a world too big for her. She struggled with her identity. Was she still the same hard-working girl who mopped floors, or someone who needed saving? The pressure grew heavy. People started treating her differently. Some respected her more. Others hated her. And all the while, Nathaniel tried to protect her, without realizing he was smothering her. One evening, she finally broke down. "I miss my old life," she said. "Not because it was easier, but because I knew who I was in it." He pulled her close. "Then let's build a life where you can still be you, where you shine, not shrink." It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about survival, together. Elsie started spending time with the hotel's interior team, secretly testing her skills with Nathaniel's silent support. She helped redesign a guest room as a surprise project. The management was stunned by her natural talent. Guests began requesting to stay in Elsie's room, and soon, other properties wanted her touch. Her confidence blossomed. The girl who once cleaned mirrors now designed entire suites. But she still refused to stop working completely. "I don't want to forget where I came from," she told Nathaniel. And so, every now and then, she'd sneak into the janitor closet, mop in hand, and clean just one hallway to ground herself. Nathaniel admired her even more. "You make me want to be better," he said one night as they lay in bed. She smiled, resting her head on his chest. "You already are. You just needed someone to mop the walls around your heart." Trouble stirred when a former flame of Nathaniel's, Lana, a stunning heiress, checked into the hotel. She immediately noticed the change in him, softer and more grounded. When she spotted him holding hands with Elsie in the garden, her perfectly painted lips curled. "So this is the little cleaning lady who stole your heart," she said snidely. Elsie tried to stay polite, but Lana's presence became suffocating. She made sarcastic comments within earshot, wore revealing outfits around Nathaniel, and accidentally spilled champagne on Elsie during a hotel gala. Nathaniel was furious and ordered her out, but Elsie stopped him. "Let her stay," she said. "I'm not scared of a ghost from your past." Later that night, Nathaniel held her close. "You are the only woman who's ever made me feel human. Lana was the idea of what I should want. You're the truth of what I need." She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. "Then promise me we'll never lose this, no matter who comes." Lana, unwilling to accept defeat, contacted a journalist and leaked the story, millionaire CEO dating former cleaning lady. The tabloids had a field day. Paparazzi showed up at the hotel, snapping photos of Elsie walking home, digging into her background. Social media exploded with opinions. Nathaniel tried to shield her, but Elsie was heartbroken. "They're turning my life into a joke," she cried. "They don't know me." Nathaniel clenched his jaw. "Then let's tell them who you are." Against every PR advisor's advice, he scheduled a televised interview and brought Elsie along. On air, he said, "I fell in love with a woman who found beauty in dust, who could see past a title and into a soul. If that threatens anyone, I suggest they learn what real love looks like." Elsie, nervous at first, found her voice. "I'm not ashamed of my past. It made me strong enough to love a man most are afraid to truly see." The public swooned with their love. Now, public life grew even more complicated. Elsie couldn't go shopping without being followed. At work, some staff began acting overly nice, while others distanced themselves. She missed the days she was invisible. Nathaniel tried to cheer her up with gifts, private dinners, and weekend getaways. But she yearned for normalcy. One night, she slipped away to clean a hallway, just to feel useful. Nathaniel found her there, mop in hand, tears in her eyes. "I miss the quiet," she whispered. He took the mop from her gently. "Then let's find quiet, together. Anywhere you are, even chaos feels calm." They began sneaking away to lesser-known parts of the city, riding public buses in hoodies, eating street food in alleys. It wasn't about escaping fame. It was about remembering why they fell in love, two lonely hearts in a world too loud, finding silence in each other. Elsie's life took another twist when Nathaniel's mother returned from abroad, a sophisticated, stern woman who expected her son to marry someone of equal standing. Upon meeting Elsie, she smiled politely but coldly. "Darling, do you even know which fork to use during a formal dinner?" Nathaniel saw the tension but hoped time would soften his mother. Instead, it worsened. She invited Elsie to a family luncheon and purposely embarrassed her by asking her to describe vintage silverware etiquette. Elsie, composed, said, "I may not know forks, but I do know respect, and that's something I'd never misuse." Nathaniel stood and took her hand. "If being in this family means tearing her down, then I'm choosing my own path, with her." His mother's face fell. But Elsie, later alone with her, said, "I understand your fear. I just ask you to watch, not judge, because I love your son enough to walk through fire with him." That was the first time his mother didn't have a response. A month later, Nathaniel surprised Elsie with a fully designed suite called the Elsie Room. It honored her cleaning roots with gold-accented mop handles, crystal buckets as light fixtures, and velvet rags as curtain ropes. "It's luxurious but grounded, just like you," he said. Guests adored it, and soon luxury hotels from across the region wanted Elsie to design their rooms. Her journey from cleaning lady to hotel design icon became a symbol of hope. But she hesitated. "What if I fail?" she asked. Nathaniel held her face gently. "Then we fail upward, together." She accepted the contracts, and her life changed again. Media outlets called her the cleaning Cinderella, but she never let it get to her head. At night, she still massaged Nathaniel's shoulders when he was tired. She still helped the kitchen staff peel vegetables when they were short-handed. And Nathaniel loved her more for it. But success brought new shadows. A rival hotel owner, jealous of Nathaniel's booming bookings, tried to bribe Elsie into quitting. He offered her her own hotel chain. She declined politely, but he didn't stop. He started spreading lies, claiming Elsie seduced Nathaniel to take over his empire. It rattled Nathaniel, but Elsie stayed calm. "If we fight back, we validate it. Let's rise above it." Still, the lies grew louder. So Elsie scheduled a press conference. Standing alone at the podium, she said, "I've scrubbed toilets. I've polished floors. And now I'm here, not because I tricked anyone, but because I never stopped working." The crowd applauded. Nathaniel watched from the back, his heart swelling. That night, he proposed, not with a diamond, but with a mop handle ring he'd handcrafted. "You cleaned my heart. Let me spend forever with you." She cried and whispered, "Yes. Forever." Wedding plans began, but not everyone was happy. One of Nathaniel's cousins, Clara, who had secretly loved him for years, began plotting. She convinced the wedding planner to switch Elsie's gown with a horrendous costume dress as a joke. On the day of the fitting, Elsie was humiliated. She almost called off the wedding. "This world doesn't want me," she sobbed. Nathaniel sat her down. "Then let's build a world that does, one where you wear whatever you want, even if it's a bathrobe and slippers." She laughed through her tears. The next day, she walked into the venue in a breathtaking gown of her own design, simple, elegant, with a mop thread veil and broom bristle embroidery. The internet went wild. People called it the boldest dress in wedding history. At the altar, Nathaniel whispered, "You've always been the one sweeping me off my feet." The honeymoon was quiet, just the two of them in a tiny cabin. No phones. No cameras. No press. Elsie picked berries while Nathaniel tried, and failed, to cook breakfast. They laughed, made love under the stars, and promised not to let fame steal their fire. When they returned, the hotel staff had thrown a surprise welcome party. Tears flowed as old janitors, chefs, bellboys, and receptionists hugged Elsie and Nathaniel. "You make us believe in more," one cleaner whispered. Life resumed with a new rhythm, design projects, hotel expansions, and shared dinners. But one night, Nathaniel came home to find Elsie staring at a test strip. I think I'm pregnant," she whispered. For the first time, Nathaniel cried tears of joy. Elsie's pregnancy brought both joy and fear. The media spun it into headlines like, "Cleaning lady turned designer now expecting billionaire's baby." Some celebrated her, but others spewed hate. Nathaniel blocked it all out. All he cared about was Elsie's health and the baby's heartbeat. But trouble came from within. Clara, still jealous, hinted that the baby might not be Nathaniel's, planting seeds of doubt in his mother's ear. One day, his mother cornered Elsie with a harsh stare. "If you've trapped him with someone else's child, I'll ruin you." Elsie was stunned, silent. That night, Nathaniel walked in on her packing. "I'm leaving," she said through tears. "Your world was never built for someone like me." He knelt beside her, placed his hand on her belly, and whispered, "Then we'll build a new one, brick by brick. Don't leave. Stay and fight for us, for this little heartbeat." To clear every doubt, Nathaniel insisted on a paternity test, privately and respectfully. When the results confirmed the baby was his, he called a family gathering and slammed the papers on the table. "This child is mine. And if any of you ever insult the woman carrying it again, you're not welcome in our lives." Elsie was shaken, but touched. His defense gave her courage. She began attending her design meetings more boldly, her small baby bump visible under flowing gowns. Fans dubbed her Queen of Grace. But Clara wasn't done. She secretly sent Elsie's hospital file to a reporter, hoping to leak personal medical details. The scandal almost exploded, until Nathaniel traced the source and exposed Clara at a family event. "You're done," he told her coldly. "Not just with Elsie. With us." With Clara out, the couple hoped for peace. But peace didn't last. Elsie collapsed one morning at a client meeting. Doctors warned of stress-induced complications. "You need complete rest, Elsie," they said. "Or you might lose the baby." Nathaniel put everything on pause, cancelled meetings, postponed expansion, and worked from home. He transformed their penthouse into a sanctuary: soft music, warm lights, prenatal yoga sessions, and poetry readings. But Elsie felt guilty. "You're sacrificing too much," she whispered. "No," he replied. "I'm prioritizing what matters: you, this baby, our future." Then one evening, as they lay on the couch, the baby kicked for the first time. Nathaniel gasped, eyes wide with wonder. "They're already dancing," he smiled. "Just like their mother." In that moment, they forgot the world. Elsie's water broke early, weeks before due time. Rushed to the hospital, she faced hours of labor. Nathaniel never left her side. She screamed, cried, begged for it to end. And then came the sound: tiny, loud, angry cries. Their baby girl was here. They named her Nova, because she lit up our darkest nights. Nathaniel held her like she was made of stars. "She looks just like you," he said. Elsie smiled weakly. "No. She's stronger than both of us." News of Nova's birth spread like wildfire. The public rejoiced. Magazine covers called her the miracle baby born of dust and diamonds. But for Nathaniel and Elsie, none of that mattered. They only saw a future of bedtime stories, first steps, and shared sunsets. Nova grew quickly, and Elsie tried to return to work. But the demands of motherhood clashed with the glitz of design meetings. One day, during an important presentation, Nova's cries echoed from the next room. Elsie rushed out, holding her tightly, tears streaming. Nathaniel found her in the nursery, shaken. "I can't do both," she said. "I'm failing at everything." He kissed her forehead. "Then let's rewrite the rules. You don't have to choose. You're not alone." He restructured the business, adding a childcare wing to the office and promoting Elsie as chief creative officer with flexible hours. Together, they built a company that valued family as much as success. Soon, other mothers joined, grateful for a space that respected them. But new challenges came when Nathaniel's ex-fiancée, Miranda, returned with a lawsuit. She claimed their past contract entitled her to part ownership of the hotel. She threatened to take everything, including Elsie's design suites. The court drama was brutal. Miranda painted Elsie as a gold digger and Nathaniel had always been reckless, but during a heated cross-examination in court, Miranda accidentally revealed something that changed everything: she had forged Nathaniel's signature on part of the agreement. The judge immediately dismissed her claims. Afterward, as the courtroom emptied, Elsie turned to him and asked quietly, "Why do these women keep coming back?" Nathaniel took her hand in his. "Because they never had what you have, the real me," he said, and then added with conviction, "and they never will." She leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "Let's never forget that." Determined to turn her journey into purpose, Elsie founded a nonprofit organization called Dust to Dream. It trained and empowered women from underprivileged backgrounds to build careers in hospitality and design, just like she had. At the foundation's launch event, she stood on stage with baby Nova in her arms and Nathaniel beside her. "I started as a cleaner in this hotel," she told the crowd. "Now I'm designing them. And I want other girls to know, they can too." The applause was thunderous. But it was the quiet moment afterward that stayed with her. A teenage girl approached her, eyes wet with tears. "You gave me hope," she whispered. That was the moment Elsie knew she was truly changing the world. As Nova's first birthday approached, Elsie and Nathaniel planned a small, quiet party. But a surprise guest arrived: her estranged father. He had abandoned their family years ago, and now stood before her, old and frail. "I saw your story," he said softly. "I had to see you." Elsie froze. Nathaniel stepped back, letting her choose. "You left us starving," she said bitterly. Her father looked down, ashamed. I wasn't brave. I see now what I missed. Tears welled in her eyes. You don't get to just come back, she said. But later, watching him gently play with Nova, something in her heart shifted. You hurt me, she told him, but I won't let that pain shape me. She took a deep breath. I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. Elsie's rise continued. She was named Hospitality Designer of the Year. But during the ceremony, as she walked toward the stage, someone deliberately tripped her. She fell hard, bruised and humiliated. The crowd gasped. Silence. Then, slowly, she stood, adjusted her gown, and smiled. Design, she said, isn't just about buildings. It's about standing tall, even after falling. The clip went viral. Elsie, the Queen of Grace, trended for days. That night, behind the glamour, she cried in Nathaniel's arms. Why do they keep coming for me? She asked. He kissed her forehead. Because you keep rising. And rising women threaten those who stay small. She smiled through her tears. Then let's keep rising together. Nova's first words were, Mama Mop, and they both laughed until their stomachs ached. That simple phrase reminded Elsie that her past wasn't something to hide, it was her strength. At bedtime, she told Nova stories about when she used to clean hotel rooms, and how she met a grumpy, tired billionaire who needed a reason to smile. One evening, after Nova fell asleep, Nathaniel pulled Elsie close. Let's have another, he said. She grinned. You just like the midnight feedings. They danced barefoot in their kitchen, laughter echoing, love overflowing, while the world outside spun too fast. Elsie's foundation expanded across multiple cities. Women who once had nothing were becoming chefs, designers, hotel managers. One day, an old friend knocked, Carla, who used to scrub floors beside her, now thriving thanks to Dust to Dream. You changed my life, Carla said, hugging her. Elsie smiled. We changed each other's. At a gala in her honor, Nathaniel took the stage and presented her with a gold-plated broom engraved with their names. For the woman who swept away my loneliness, he said, and gave me everything I didn't know I needed. The story that began with a nap in the wrong room ended in a house full of laughter, love, and legacy. Nova toddled through the halls, Elsie sketched designs in the nursery, and Nathaniel read poetry on the porch. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting gold across their porch, Elsie looked at her husband and smiled. Would you believe I once got scolded for sleeping on the job? Nathaniel chuckled and pulled her close. Best mistake you ever made. They kissed, slow and sweet, their love deeper than ever. And in that moment, the once forgotten cleaning lady was no longer just part of someone else's story. She had become the author of her own. Queen of her castle. Proof that dreams don't always knock, they sometimes sneak in while you're sleeping. And when they do, wake up and chase them with everything you've got.